now, Merzin, over to you. In terms of, do you think it is the rise of the Indian players? That's our premise. Are we rising in the VFX business right now?
Well, look at your panel. We're definitely rising.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speak more. Elaborate. Yeah, we need to hear your mind.
So, yeah, I think it's been a long journey. And from what we've seen, the amount of or the kind of work that has been happening over the period of time, over the last, I would say, almost 5 to 10 years. And with a steep graph over the last 5 years, it's been a massive increase. Just in the focus of the bigger players in India, the way the teams have been growing, I think RNH set the pace long time back, but was, I think, going a little slow. They did some fantastic work, and I believe they were the pioneers to really plant that seed. DreamWorks did an excellent job, but unfortunately, the market forces or the global forces didn't let it go to the next level. But definitely, with Technicolor doing whatever it's done, and DNEG has taken it to the next level. And from a time where, we've seen the journey of visual effects in India, right from the time where we've struggled to do basic roto. I know my first big job where I had to really figure out how to do just a simple wire removal with, and in an Indian film with 10 fighters fighting one star, and with big ropes going all over the place, not just cables. These were real ropes, and they were getting pulled all over the place. And just doing that was a big challenge. But I think we've come a long way, where today we are happy to say we're doing everything from roto prep match move. It's a given. We do it that, of course, and we do that proudly for the rest of the world. But we do everything from build to animation, FX, rigging to comp, and some really kick-ass lighting for some of the biggest projects out in the planet today.
Yeah, so I go back to 97. You are working at CompuField and you come across Namit, Prakash, and Huzefa. What the hell was going on with you all to think of all this? What were you all thinking? 93, was it? Okay, then you set up in 97.
94, and
what was going on in your heads, yeah? What was going on in your minds that your prime focus, which is a beacon for the world in a way, for India?
I think that's also one of the changes that has happened in the world, that back then, I think a lot of people stumbled into the industry rather than very focused getting into the industry. I stumbled upon it. I didn't have much to do. And so I thought, why not sign up for a quick graphic course while I'm waiting for something better to happen? And the person who was teaching me left midway, and the owner of the institute actually told me that, you're a smart guy, why don't you start teaching? And I said, I haven't finished learning my 3D yet. He said, no problem, you're smart, you'll figure it out. So I think that was the beginning of the journey of figuring it out. So I was literally going through the manual and learning while I was also teaching. And Prakash, Huzefa, and myself were all teaching out there. And Namit came along as our student, and the rest is history. He had the idea of putting together a post-production studio, and I said, yeah, but what kind of work? So he said it will be mostly advertising or music videos or TV series. That time it was big on TV series. I said, what about Indian movies? So he said, no Indian movies at the moment. I said, yeah, because, I don't want to work on Indian movies. But those were famous last words. A few years later, that was the only thing I was doing for a good portion of my life. That's what I did. And yeah, it's, just, I think the puzzle unfolded in front of us as we went along. The good part was we were just passionate about what we did. It wasn't about charting out a very preset plan, and we just didn't know. The good part was we didn't know what we were doing. I think that was also one of the things which pushed us. There was no fear. We were competing against some giants, but we didn't know that they were giants or that we were too small for them. So it didn't matter. And went from doing music videos to feature film title sequences to editing feature films, to setting up the whole visual effects and pushing the cause of visual effects in the Indian industry, because back then visual effects didn't exist as a department. It was part of the action department. So the action director was the visual effects owner of that whole thing, and you were just at their mercy, whatever they did. But from converting it into a department, getting the right to actually sit at the table and have someone really offer you tea and coffee and umbrella over your head was a big achievement. So I'm happy to say my supervisors today enjoy a lot more than what we did back then. But I also enjoyed every bit of that time. It was much better than sitting in a chair and just looking at a screen.
Yeah. So, what are the positives which helped Prime Focus scale up? What were the things that helped you all? You all went public. You all did all that, but let's leave that aside. But what were the positives which helped you all scale up?
Scale up, I think, is still as part of our Indian DNA, the never say die attitude. I think we've faced it all. We've gone through a really tough time. And that's why that has been always the attitude. There is never say never, and there is just make the impossible possible. That's been the motto all along. And it's never been about trying to do something. It's about just as it's coming up, the excitement is there to do new things constantly. And we were lucky also to be at the cusp of technology and at that point where, the whole world was changing. Digital was coming in a big way, and we were the new kids on the block, and everyone wanted something new. And I think one of the best parts is the partnership that we have, the focus of Namit coming from a very strong film background and very passionate and very focused in what he wants to do. We are focused from an artistic and creative point. We've been pushing that along for the longest time. And all along the way, partnering with people as we get, and sort of growing that core team. And I think that's been the best part about it. That's the reason why we are where we are, because we're just hungry to, keep achieving more.
Yeah. So what's good about the Indian VFX sector today now, and what's bad? I want to hear both.
Today's let's start with the good. Obviously, the good is just for us as one company. For me to say that I've got 2,000 pure VFX professionals doing international work, another maybe, let's say, 800 doing Indian work, plus animation separate, plus 2D to 3D separate. That very fact that we are close to maybe 8,000, I lose count, in just pure India, that itself means that coming from when I was one of the largest as Prime Focus, my team size was 150 for the longest time, and I was considered big. So for us to be, as an Indian company, to be at that size, I think that speaks volumes about the country itself, that we have established. If that many people are delivering world-class products from India, and that's just us, and there are definitely some brilliant companies around here, small and big, that are doing some fantastic work. I think that speaks volumes about the Indian artist pool that has grown tremendously, which is a combination of not just the studios obviously pushing it, but the training institutes that have been a part of that journey, and a lot of stalwarts who've been at it for the longest time and have been pushing that. So that's a good part. We've been growing, and the experience is becoming better. It's no longer considered a destination for doing low-end, labor-intensive work. Those days are gone. I don't think I need to sit across anyone to try to convince them on that part. It's about now doing volume, but at the same time making sure that the creative spec and the technical spec is constantly maintained and pushed. The bar has to keep getting higher. The artists are delivering. We are delivering some really kick-ass work. It's not relegated to just, window comps or just monitor comps. Today, we are doing large scale FX in India. Some of the best Houdini guys are sitting right here in India and delivering that. like I mentioned earlier, I'm very happy and proud about the animation and the effects that comes out of here is, is at par with the West, of course. But, the West has been at it for a long time. We have been at it only from the last couple of years, where we've gone into that sort of sector of the work. So our numbers are high, but the experience is still low. The number of people that have that experience. So I think we have to focus on retaining that talent and building upon that, so that people see that as a future. So yes, because I'm happy that we are not anymore the low cost center. We are pushing it at the high complexity, volume work, which means we can start making sure that our artists are taken care of, our artists are paid well, so that they do see a career progression, and it's not taken as just a side business where let's do it for the passion's sake and then now let's get another job, which is more serious. So a lot of families or parents always thought of that, let's get into doing, so, you've done your bit, now do some serious work. Because what we do is a little illogical. It's not exactly the most easy thing for anyone from outside the industry to understand, because it's not a simple product that you make and that millions use. It's a product that millions watch, but they do not really understand what exactly went into doing that. That one, movie that you walk out on and say that, nah, was okay, was not that great. There were a few thousand people that really burned the midnight oil across continents to make that. And but visual effects is, it's not, it's the content is king, it's just the icing. So if the content is great, visual effects takes it to the next level. Today visual effects is very much a part of storytelling. It's not relegated to just the background or just a production fix it kind of a thing. And the not so great side about the India VFX is, of course, that because we are late entrants and our education system does not really support that from the beginning. So a lot of people are starting it very late in their career or late in their life. And there is no shortcut, of course, it's a lot of hard work. And there is no real government organized support to help us take it to the next level. It's very much, we're struggling, we're finding finance, we're trying to, keep funding it as we go along. It's, you're constantly battling new technology. If there is new technology out there, you have to have the latest, but that latest costs. So how do you deal with that where your client is trying to do even bigger work? And what doesn't change, whether it's Hollywood or it's Indian cinema or anything, is that budgets in ratios are always less from what you're trying to achieve. And managing those things is the toughest thing. So visual effects is not a company, or is not an industry to just make, pots of money, but it is something that is sustained. If you manage it right, then you're able to sustain it. So in that, having a little backing from the government would be great. Better education to just counsel the people as they come into the industry and guide them along would be great. We do a lot of training and a lot of career development internally. There's a lot of movement between today everyone is focused in being a specialist. You're either a lighter or a comper or a FX artist, but we try to have interdisciplinary training happening so that you're not left in the pipeline where you start, when a job starts as modeling, by the time it reaches lighting, the modeler is free. It cannot be free because utilizing large teams is a very difficult thing. You have to have the next job in to make sure that you are managing that. But I think some of those things would get a little easier if there was a little management or it was a little backing from the government, whether it's in subsidies or it is anything where there's a focused effort like some of the other countries. That's the reason why the creative arts are growing in some companies very strongly, and studios push you to actually work in those places.
Yeah, that's great. We'll come to that topic later. But so you were saying we are going higher up the value chain. So cost arbitrage, will it stay India's cost arbitrage that a lot of Hollywood studios like to take advantage of? Or will that disappear? And then it'll be purely creative and good work that will stand up?
I think the first point, definitely in the game that we are playing today, it's important that creative and quality is first. The cost arbitrage is there. That's a benefit that goes along with it. I think it will stay for, I think, fairly long time, because again, we're talking volumes. We're not just talking small numbers. So I think it will stay.
Okay. Where can we develop? You said education, government support. Where else? Where are the opportunities coming up? The country as a whole, and possibly newer studios which are coming up.
Yeah, newer studios that are coming up, training and education in each of those, bringing in that. I think it's the work that actually helps you. There is training that helps, but after that, it's experience. So the more you do, the better you get. You need that mileage, and the more that kind of work starts coming into the country, and there is that much more development. We bring in more freshers into the industry, increase the pool. The talent pool is very important to grow and get them experience fast into this, because the onslaught is coming.
Okay. What Indian studios doing that they did not do earlier? What is it that they're doing right?
I think it wouldn't be right for me to say what is wrong or right. I think it's all about, the opportunities. I know what I was not being able to do all along is it's that age old thing of, how do you get experience if you don't have the work, but how do you get the work if your showreel doesn't speak? So what we went out, very early in the day is figured out that instead of waiting for getting outsourcing work, I take that as a bad word today. That we didn't wait for that. We went out and acquired companies internationally, because that was the only way that we could be out there and pull the work, rather than sit over here and keep requesting work as service in the players. It would never happen. And I think that's what helped even the country also to start getting established. That was very different from an international company coming into India and acquiring, because when the international companies come into India, it's coming purely for the cost arbitrage, and it's coming purely for low cost. But then the drive is also to do low cost work. Whereas from our side, we were always intending to do high end work, because that's what, sets everything apart. And that's what gives the thrill of working on those projects and that kind of work to the artists, so that they feel engaged. Otherwise, how long can you just keep doing basic work?
Sure. So what lessons have you learned at Prime Focus, DNEG along the way? And what relations have you developed which have really helped you all get to that high level of work which you've been
So I think
always been
one of the biggest learnings is definitely communication, culture. I think for a long time, India hides behind the word culture, and we do not correct the West when they use the word culture on us quite often, where, oh yeah, maybe we understand it's a different culture, it's different culture. No, it's not different. What is different? You're working on Avengers, we're working on Avengers, we're compositing for Avengers. That's the language, that's the culture. So we have to come out of that constantly, falling back on that, yeah, things are different. Of course, things are different in India. We are a much more hungry, team. We are eager to please. But in also that, one thing that needs to change at our end is the communication, where we feel, do we have the voice? Do we have the ability? Should we be telling them if there is a problem? So that takes, even till date, it's a constant complaint from the West that, we're not getting transparency, but no one's hiding anything. It's more about being open about it and not trying to fix the problem first and then going. It's about first working with the team to say there is a problem and we are fixing it. So it's a two-way street. But India is guilty before proven innocent from the West side, and it keeps changing, but that's something that is also ongoing. So yes, we have learned that communication is the key. Building relationships with the guys across the West is very key. It's not about just package the work and send it to India and magically it will just come back. It's not going to happen. You have to do the same thing that you were doing with your own artists and with the people here. We have supervisors here that require the same level of commitment from the other side. So I think some of those, the dependence on technology and the dependence on relationships is equally important. I think that's been it's been a learning, and we keep learning every year. So we learned it way back 10 years back when we started 2D to 3D conversion, but it's still an ongoing process. And it's a two-way street, learning on the India side, learning on the Western side, because not everyone knows how to work across continents. It's not the same.
Yeah. So, you have got a lot of experience getting international work. So what works to get work in the international market? And, what do we need to do to continue getting it?
Just deliver the best possible work. There is nothing else to do that, because that's the primary thing. You might get one small job the first time, but you have to be able to build upon it and get the next job, and focus on not just delivering it, but also delivering it in a smooth way. The journey is as important as the final result, because otherwise you leave a bad taste, and that sets you back. Doesn't stop you, but sets you back quite a lot. So I think that focus and constantly working on that to get the next job, and yes, of course, focus on the finances, but also at the same time focus on doing the next best thing, which seems impossible. We've done projects which are just crazily impossible to do in India, and I've had times where I've been told that you're going to fail. It's never going to happen. And okay, we'll deal with it. We'll figure it out. And we did figure it out, and we delivered. And that's what, gets you more and more credibility. Right from the time that we did our first 2D to 3D conversion, where the world said that it's impossible. It's only one company that actually stood up there and said, fine, we'll do it.
Wow, fantastic. So now, again, now, what are the trends that the VFX industry in India and globally needs to keep a watch on? What are the trends that you're seeing, which you see because you've been a pioneer in the Indian context along with Namit and your colleagues? What are the trends you're seeing?
I think the world is changing. The world has seen necessity is the mother of invention. So last whole year, suddenly you're sitting at home, and we've already seen that productions are not happening, which means that when they do happen, they're going to be in a mighty hurry. And at the same time, while productions need to shoot, we still have to worry about the whole COVID situation, which means a lot more dependence on digital and lesser on the shoot. So already we've reached a point where a lot of the movies are made on the, we don't say editing table anymore, we say on the visual effects table, because, whether any of the big blockbusters today have so much digital content in them. There is shoot, but instead of shooting the whole scene and having elements that are shot, VFX is providing, it's actually the other way around. Now you're doing the whole, everything in the digital realm, and then you are shooting your live action, which becomes elements that go into your scene. So that trend has already reversed, but it's going to build upon. Yes, what we were listening to in the prior session also, with the Unreal coming in such a big way. It's not like Unreal was never there, but now it's suddenly the tool that is becoming a tool of choice to really, push the things. So everyone's sort of jumping onto the bandwagon this year, because that seems to be the way to go. We did some work with, virtual walls and stuff for Interstellar, but that seems to be the way where a lot of productions may land up doing their shoots also, where instead of just doing green screen, you might land up with large LED walls as virtual screens. That also is something that is developing. So instead of being out there in 20 different locations, organizing your production, on some of our other recent movies, not to mention any names, but clearly the trend is for actors to want to say, why don't you do digital instead of, wanting me to travel to 5 different locations? So those are the trends that are definitely changing. I think we are going to see a lot more of that as this year also pans out. Hopefully this year gets a little better, but I think we have to work out a new normal. And I think we are, as the digital and the visual effects space, animation, whatever, all of that combined is going to play a big part in the next round of movies that are going to be made.
Yeah. So what skill sets are you looking at developing within Prime Focus DNEG? You've been known for specific ones. Now you're saying you're general, you'll do everything. And what are you looking at developing? And in terms of Prime Focus had a DNEG acquisition, what happens next? I mean, you're hungry for growth. What happens next? Are you scouting for studios? Or are you still digesting? Your debt burden is still high. You've got about 2,500 crores of debt right now.
So I don't think I'm in a position to discuss any of those things. But just from what do we want to develop? Of course, I think we're developing across the board. Focus on technology is big. Focus on just I think this year is going to be on just working out efficiencies. That's going to be a big part of the whole thing, of bringing in more bigger projects to be able to support our clients also, because everyone's going through the same thing. It's not just one side of it. The studios that have been making so many projects are all stuck. Movies are getting delayed. So I think it's about just watching each other's back this year, at the same time working out more efficient ways. Yes. Unreal is the way to go, developing our pipeline to be able to work a little bit smoother, give the artists more tools that they can focus more on the creative and lesser on the technical aspect of it or the hardware aspect of it. I think those are the focuses that we're definitely going to start looking at more.
Okay. So now, you talked about the pause mode in production. Production has been in pause mode now. So how do you see the entire industry getting back into the game? What advice do you have, and what are you telling your teams? Because it's going to be a rush, like you said.
So I think definitely this has opened up. The shoots have started. They are going slow. I don't have the exact information on that, but I believe they stop a little bit based on the country's situation. But yes, a lot more focuses on virtualization, a lot more focuses on that. And I think the clients are also already, I think they are far ahead in thinking about how to get out of this. So they are pushing on that. I think I'm not in a position to really advise them on that. And I think we should see movement. We're already seeing movement. Projects are starting up again this year. We're starting to see a lot more interest. We are seeing a lot more, at least we are engaged with a lot more clients than we saw in the first half of last year. Things were a little slow, but we were still busy. We had a lot of work that we were still going through. Some of those projects still have to release this year.
What about your pipeline? So is there enough work in the pipeline in terms of project pipeline? Or because you've completed a lot of the projects, right?
We've completed a lot of projects. We did see a little, so, the way things panned out was some of the projects, because they didn't have a release date, they just sort of extended. So that helped us in some ways to just, keep the teams engaged. We didn't really have a downtime. We were working from home in our first, I think 1 or 2 weeks. We were up and running across the globe. All our teams were at it. And I think this year we did see a little dip, but now we are again seeing it picking up. So by the time the project's sort of finished, we have the next lot that are now kicking off.
Great. I mean, you have a passion for gaming. What games are you playing now? And you also love bikes. How many bikes do you have? And secondly, cars too. And finally, retro music.
I handed over the games part to my son. So he's the cool dude on the gaming side. I don't get to play that many games anymore. But yes, I'm focusing on my biking. That keeps me busy.
What kind of a bike are you riding these days? And how many bikes are you having? If you don't mind sharing that.
Well, I have two bikes. Both are Ducatis, and one is a touring bike, and the other one is a sports bike for the track. So I do both.
Fantastic. And the car side, Ferrari?
No, no, no. This is Mumbai.
I know,
Point.
but who knows? You could go on long drives along the sea coast. I know the roads aren't that great. What about retro music?
Yeah, music is okay. I mean, we're still living in the 80s.
Okay, who's your favorite singer?
No, no such thing as favorite. All of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all of it, everything. And what's your favorite song of the 80s?
No, no, I can't even, I don't have any favorites that I can throw out right now.
Okay, but thank you very much. Any last words before we wrap up? Anything you'd like to say?
No, I think thank you to you all for putting all this together and bringing people together. I think if at all the industry needs is to come together and look at it as one goal of making India the primary destination. LA was, no one thought of work going out of LA at one time, that everything would be LA, but the studios just packaged it all up and sent it to Vancouver overnight. So also it moved to London. So also it moved to Montreal. And there is no reason why India can't be on the map and be an equal partner in that. We're already, I would say, more than halfway there. I think we need to push it. And yeah, absolutely.
Thank you again very much.